Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. It's Christmas Eve and I have had this thought swirling in my head for a while, and there are other conversations happening right now that I don't want this video to get lost in, and for that reason I'm going to film it now, but I'm probably not going to post it until sometime in 2024. I'm thinking like February or March is when you'll actually be able to see this. But I want to talk about parasocial relationships and content creator expectations, which, like many conversations in the book community, is something that comes up every once in a while. And I think that when it comes to parasocial relationships in particular, the conversation is typically one-sided, and so I want to address both sides as well as a few other things that people are talking about right now. There have been multiple videos about people talking about as a content creator, you don't have to do certain things and you don't have to give in to what's popular or follow a trend. I think I've seen like 4 videos talking about this at this point, and so I want to address all of those things as well as a few other things. So firstly, when it comes to being a subscriber, viewer, supporter, Patreon of content creators, you are not entitled to anything. You are entitled to absolutely nothing from those people, whether it's input on the content they make, input on what they read, and speaking specifically in bookish terms, or even just information about their personal lives. You are not entitled to any of that. If that person decides that they would like to share those things, that's their prerogative. That is 100% their choice. Even if they decide to share little things and people have questions, want to know more, it is their right to withhold the rest of that information, because again, you are not entitled to it, right? I also think that it is very weird and disrespectful to think that you are entitled to anything from a complete stranger that you watch on the internet. Maybe they've responded to a couple of your comments. Maybe you've had a conversation in their comment section or on their Patreon or in their Discord, whatever the case may be. We're gonna ignore the sirens. They don't owe you anything. End of story. That is what it is. And I know that a lot of people don't like that, or feel, especially with like channel members in Patreon, think that, oh, well, I'm paying for something, therefore I do deserve. No, you don't. You don't. And at the end of the day, you don't have to subscribe to them. You don't have to be a member of their Patreon or anything like that. You can always take that back if you feel like you're not getting what you deserve. But at the end of the day, that's not up to you. On the flip side of that, I feel like a lot of content creators put unnecessary pressure on themselves in order to please their subscribers and viewers and patrons and whatever the case may be. And I really wish that it wasn't that way, because I've seen people stress out about it. I have a lot of friends who are on Patreon, and I've subscribed to them because I want to support them, not because I'm like, oh, I want exclusive content or I want early access to videos or anything like that. I'm literally just doing it just because they're my friend, or I like their content, or yeah, those are the 2 reasons that I have for subscribing. I've heard people say, oh, I don't feel like I'm doing enough for my Patreon, which I hate. I don't like that. I don't like people feeling like they have to continually do something for people that they literally don't know. And I can understand, like, if people are paying for something and, you know, you're like, oh, I'm starting a Patreon for exclusive content, that doesn't mean that you have to provide that content 365 days a year. Like, that's excessive. And while I understand that there are some people who do this full-time or who do it for supplemental income, so they do need to do a certain amount of things, but even then, even if this is your job, jobs have sick days. Jobs have PTO. You should not be forcing yourself to make content when you're not feeling it, when you're going through something, if you're having a shitty mental health day, if you're battling depression and anxiety at the moment and you're just really fucking down in the dumps. If you're in a reading slump, you can't force yourself to keep reading things that you're just going to end up hating anyway because you're not in the mood for it, just because you think that you owe other people something. And while I do think it is nice to want to be able to provide extra things for people who do sign up for the channel memberships and things like that, I also wish that people realize that sometimes people just want to support you. They're just doing that $2 tier because that's something that they know that they can give, but they also know that it might be helpful. Like, the whole thing doesn't have to necessarily be transactional. Sure, the majority of people are going to sign up for those things specifically to gain that exclusive content, but that's not how it is for everyone. Like, I feel like I'm in Patreons with a lot of the same people, and it's very well known that like we care more about the person that we're watching as a person and not just as a content creator, and that when things have to be rearranged or canceled, like typically everyone's like, yeah, no, we understand, like don't even worry about it, we're cool, like we don't care, we want you to rest, you're not feeling well, we know that, you already told us, so like whatever. And I just wish that there was more of that energy, but I really wish that content creators would stop putting so much pressure on themselves. And I think for me, when I started doing this, it was always from the jump. You can watch any video where I talk about this, it was always, I'm not getting wrapped up in the subscriber count and how many likes, how many views, what's the algorithm pushing and whatever the fuck. Like that feels exhausting to me. And while I understand again that there are some people who do need to be aware of those things, I simply refuse to, because I cannot have something that is literally a hobby, something that I have fun with, become a fucking chore to the point where I just don't even want to fucking do it anymore, which happens a lot. Like, content creator burnout is real, and we've seen it happen so many times, and we know what the warning signs are, we know what to look for, but so many people just end up falling into it anyway. So when I started, I said from the jump that I was not gonna do any of that, primarily because I'm a Black woman on the internet with unpopular opinions. I'll talk shit about your favorite authors, I'll call out problematic shit, which a lot of people don't like. It is what it is. I also read things that are not super popular. I love reading Black romance more than anything, but we all know that BIPOC authors in general, but specifically Black authors, do not get the support, the credit, the push, the publicity that they deserve, especially if they're independently published. We know that already. So for me to be someone who is very into all of those things, I knew that I was never gonna get the views and the likes and whatever. Like, I'm never gonna be what the algorithm pushes. Like, yeah, I'll do things like best and worst of the year, but I do those things because I like those things. I like watching those things and I like talking about those things. I love a good rant in somebody's worst of the year. I really do. I eat that shit up. I also like making that content for myself, really just talk about how I'm feeling and get my thoughts out. Like, sometimes I do take suggestions from other people. I might ask people, like, what do y'all think about this? But like, at the end of the day, I'm never going to structure all of my content solely based on what other people want, what's popular, or what's working for the algorithm. I'm just not going to do that. And I feel like a lot of people really struggle with that, especially because people will be like, oh, I did this video and it did so well, but now like none of my other videos are matching up to it. Or I started at the same time as this other person and their channel is growing exponentially faster than mine and I don't understand. And I can understand how that sucks, but at the end of the day, I don't feel like it's realistic if that's the only reason that you're here. That is my personal opinion. Feel how you want to feel about it, but I just don't think that's wise for anyone. And especially when it comes to comparing your channel's growth to other people's, that is a slippery slope that you do not want to get on. I've seen it too many times, and it's frustrating, especially when these people are my friends, and I just want to be like, girl, don't worry about that. I'm gonna watch all of your videos, I'm gonna like all of your videos, I'm gonna comment on all of your videos. Probably don't have shit to say, or if I want to talk to you about it, I could just text you, but I'm still gonna do it because I know that shit does matter. It's just hard to watch people talk about it over and over again and feel so discouraged and let their hobby turn into something that they don't enjoy anymore because they're putting too much weight on the expectations of other people. So one thing that a lot of people are saying in other videos that are floating around right now is like, oh, you don't have to do that. Or commenting on how people are saying in their goal videos, I want to read what I want to read. Like, you should have been doing that from the jump. That should never change. And I was on Twitter the other day and I said something about like, I will never understand reading solely for the sake of making content. And what I mean by that is that, yeah, sometimes I do things, you know, to make a video about it. Like when I read The Other Black Girl with Robin, I knew that I was gonna fucking hate that book. I knew it. But I knew what one of the twists was, and I wanted to see how it ended. I wanted to understand the conversations that we were having so that I could also participate in those conversations. But at the same time, again, I love a rant review. I did that because it was fun to be in the group chat and bitch about that book. We even tried watching the show together, and I think we tapped out after 2 or 3 episodes. Like, it was fun time. Again, ignore the sirens. It was a fun time, even though I didn't necessarily love it. But I'm not going to read all of Sarah J. Maas's catalog because the girlies love it. I don't give a fuck. I can't stand any of her writing. I will never read a book by her ever again. And I feel like it's so easy to get wrapped up in things like that, but I don't understand it, because it's one thing to hate read something and, you know, be in a chat with people and talk shit about it and all go through that experience together. It's another thing to force yourself to read an entire 6 to 10 book series just because it's popular and because you know that people want to watch that, to the point where you hate having to pick up a book, you hate having to review it, you hate having to talk about it and vlog it and whatever the case may be. Like, I don't get it. And I think that this is also a very personal thing to me, is that I frankly don't care what other people think in all aspects of my life, really. So that's very much a me thing. I'm aware of that. And again, something that I've always said is that I don't do this for y'all. I do this for me. I do this because I think it's fun. I think that this has been a great opportunity for me. I started a channel because I had one friend that really read, that was in my life, had a friend breakup and needed somebody to talk to about books. And that's how I ended up here. But also from that, I have met some of the best people. Y'all know that Robin is my bestie. Y'all know that the group chat and I went on that cabin trip and we had a great time, and we still like each other, which is very important. Something we were like, ugh, what if we ended up hating each other? So things like that, I can see the benefits of this for myself, but then I think that the benefits for other people become a little lost in getting caught up in the attention and the views and going viral and whatever the case may be. And I just really would encourage a lot of content creators to take a step back and think about why you're here, what you're doing it for, and what really matters to you, because at the end of the day, it should not be views. It shouldn't. Even if you do this full time, I think that you should only do as much as you can to sustain that, but not at the risk of your enjoyment and your mental health. There was also a conversation about, oh, I want to see more of certain things or certain genres and less of just what's popular at the moment. And genuinely, I think that you can find those things if you look for them. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people just aren't looking for those things, yet you're complaining that you don't see it, but you haven't taken the time to look. And there are so many bookish content creators that you can find what you want. I promise you that you can. You just have to actually put in the time. You can't complain about following all these popular people who only do what's popular and then be mad at those people for not doing other things, because if that's what those people want to do, they have that right. But if you want to see something different, you need to look for that. Like, you can't just expect that people are just gonna read your mind and do whatever you want them to, because again, you're not entitled to what they do. But at the same time, there are other people who are doing the things that you want. You just haven't strayed away from your normal or what you're used to. It's the same as, oh, I want to see more diverse content. Okay, so follow diverse people, follow people with diverse tastes. It's very simple. At the end of the day, that's how you get what you want. You just look for it. Just saying. Or you make it yourself. And everybody doesn't have the time and energy to do this. I get it, but at the same time, it's like, but what did you really do about it? Don't complain about it if you're not gonna do anything about it. That's how I feel. That's another part of the reason that I started my channel, is because I wanted to see certain things that I was not seeing. So I did it myself. But again, I understand that everybody can't do that. Not everybody has time, equipment, whatever. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. 2023 has been a weird year in general, and then like the conversations happening in the book community and the drama in the book community has been weird, and I don't know. But I did want to make this video. I wanted to at least get my thoughts out for now. By the time you're seeing this, it'll be 2024. But Let me know how you feel. Let me know what you think about any of the things that I mentioned, other things that you've seen in the community that maybe bother you. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.